Okay, Ms. Shanks, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining with us today for our second lead counselor talk. I am Amanda Shanks. I am one of the counselors here at LEAD. I have the beginning of the alphabet, A through K, last names A through K.
And I'm
we
Mrs.
have
Colvin. Oh, sorry. Counselor for students with last names L through Z.
Perfect. I'm excited to talk to you today about college planning. It is an exciting and can be stressful time. So we just want to make sure that we give you the information that you need and are here if you have any questions for us. I do want to let you know that we are recording this session just so that we can send that out to those that weren't able to join us today. So let's go ahead and start about college planning for 9th and 10th graders. I really say the biggest thing that freshmen and sophomores can do for college planning is to focus on high school, focus on their GPA and their attendance. Our older students, many times we hear, man, I wish I would have focused. So that's the biggest message we send. The biggest thing about college planning for freshmen and sophomores is to focus on that GPA, focus on that attendance, especially get signed up for that A+ scholarship program and be aware that that A+ scholarship program, you need 95% attendance. So focusing on those two things are very important. The other thing, and especially for freshmen, is to get involved in clubs and activities. On college applications and scholarship applications, they're always looking for that well-rounded student that is involved and connected. So joining clubs and organizations, and then into that sophomore year, looking for those leadership roles in those clubs and organizations. College applications are looking specifically for leadership. So that's what we say is the biggest thing you can do to college plan for freshmen and sophomores. Now, going into the junior year, this is the big year of college planning and college searching. This would be the year that we start really looking at our options, thinking about life after high school, what we want to do. If we are wanting to go to college, then start exploring colleges. We'll talk more about looking for those colleges that are a good fit for us. And also going on college visits. That summer between sophomore and junior year is a great time to start doing those college visits as well. And then anytime we have a day off of school or spring break, those college visits are good times to do those as well. Junior year is also when you take your ACT. So starting to prepare and plan and for that ACT, that's a good thing for juniors to do as well. Anything else you have to add for juniors? Okay. All right, seniors, this is when we are finalizing our plans for college. And so this is when we start applying for college, and we're going to talk about all of those steps. We also need to make sure that we are completing our A+ hours by the end of our senior year. We'll also need to search and start applying for scholarships. Most scholarships are senior level only. We'll talk more about that, and we talked about that last time in scholarships. There's a few junior scholarships, but the majority of scholarships are for seniors only. And so really staying on top of scholarships is a good thing to do as well. Also in those English courses for your senior year, you're writing your college essay. And so preparing that college essay is another thing you can do for that as well. Anything you want to add?
The only thing I was going to highlight, and I know we highlighted this a lot during scholarships, is that the senior year of high school is when parents would fill out the FAFSA. A lot of
Yes.
my juniors this year have been saying, hey, I'm trying to fill out the FAFSA. And I say, oh, you can't do that until your senior year.
And actually, next counselor talk is going to be about the FAFSA because there are some changes to the FAFSA this year. In years past, the FAFSA opened in October, and now it's not opening until December. And I'm hearing it's not going to be till the end of December. So I am going to FAFSA professional development on Halloween, actually October 31st. And so I'm going to bring back all that information of what we need to know about this new opening date and how that affects our mid-year grads and our regular grads as well. So stay tuned for that. I hope to learn a lot of good information about the FAFSA.
Okay, so post-secondary pathways. During students' freshman and sophomore year of high school, we're really stressing and we're having those conversations about life after high school. And we talk about that, although it seems like a lifetime away, it's really not a lifetime away. And so we highlight some of the options for students. And those are what are listed in front of you, of course, four-year colleges and universities, community college, a trade or certification program, a gap year. And we're very careful and really intentional when we talk about what a gap year looks like. And there's a document there. And then also the military branch. And those words there where it says explore and it's underlined, I'm not going to really dive into those in this presentation, but you can click on those. But I do want to highlight the gap year. The gap year, is something more that's new. Maybe in my generation, it wasn't talked as much about, but as you can see, Ms. Shanks is scrolling through, and we really wanted to provide this resource for families so that if your student is saying, hey, I want to take a gap year, well, this can help guide those conversations, and that way the student is really being intentional on what that gap year looks like and how it can be beneficial to their post-secondary plans.
Okay, one of our biggest college planning resources is Zello. And we're going to look into Zello, but some things that I want you to know that we are doing with your students and preparing them for planning for life after high school are some career lessons in Zello. So as counselors, we have a counseling curriculum that we go into the classrooms or push into the classrooms. And one of those pieces are these career lessons. So ninth grade, we do a Zello lesson called Personality Styles, where you kind of assess your personality and it matches you with career paths. And so that's a great one, just kind of that introduction of some things that your personality matches with in the world of work. And we just talk about how being successful in work has a lot to do with being happy in that world of work as well. So matching our personality with that world of work is important. In 10th grade, we do a lesson and a survey about work values. And so that includes like what you're looking what you're looking for in a career. So if you like to work outdoors, if you like to work indoors, if you like to work with people, so it's just kind of those work values and what you find valuable in a career. 11th grade, we do a lesson about choosing a college, and it's about making that right fit for you. We talk a lot more about the other options for life after high school as well. But this lesson really does get into that as well. So it's not just choosing a college, but choosing a pathway for you after high school. And then our 12th grade lesson that we do is about job interviewing. And this is a great lesson that kind of talks about those professional skills that are not only going to help you in the world of work, but interviewing for scholarships and those kind of things as well. So what I'm going to do is open up Zello so that you can see what Zello is. So students would log into Zello through the Park Hill portal. This is my side of it. So I'm going to view as a 12th grade student so that you can kind of see what that looks like. And parents have access to Zello as well. Earlier in the school year, I sent out an email about how you can access Zello. If you weren't able to do that and need me to email that to you again, no worries, just shoot me an email and I'll send you directions on how to do that. But students open up this front page and it says, hey, and their name. This is where we do our career lesson plans. But I also want to show you over here in this middle column where it says explore options. This is a great place where you can explore different careers, and it tells you, you can look, kind of set your filters on what kind of training that you are looking for in a career. And then it talks more about what that career is. The job description, tasks, workplace, what personality style it works with, money, that's always a big one that people are looking for. So there's actually a lot of information that students can explore through this Exploring Careers section of Zello. Another thing is you can search schools. Basically, you would just search any area that you're looking for. Well, let's try Kansas. And you can do cost. We'll just go kind of in the middle, and then you can just click on any university or college that you're looking for. Benedictine College, I was recently up there this past weekend for their homecoming. And so you can just look at all this information about each university. And I'm really impressed with Zello. There are a lot of universities available within Zello. Another thing that I use with students, especially during our ICAP meetings, is exploring majors. Yesterday, I worked with a student that wants to go into criminology. And so we opened this up. I'm spelling that wrong. There it is. To see what schools are available close to us that would have a bachelor's degree in criminology. So this was really helpful for that student. We saw that Avila, we saw that Missouri State, Northwest Missouri State. And so those were all areas or universities that are close to us that he can look at more and find out more information, knowing that they have that major that he's looking for. And just to let you know, for college planning, this is where we request transcripts, is under college planning. And this is where we look for those local scholarships as well. Going back to here. Okay.
Okay, so to continue to talk about college and career planning resources, and specifically colleges. So as Ms. Shanks mentioned, Zello is a great resource. We do pay for that resource for students, and they can utilize that resource until the end of their senior year, as well as their parents. Unfortunately, there are some schools not on Zello, and so we want to provide another resource that's all inclusive. Ms. Shanks, if you want to go ahead and just click on that real quick, and we'll just look at it. It has some of the similar and same resources. If you scroll down there, right, there's a career quiz, career search, major, things like that. So another option for students if they find that maybe a college isn't on Zello or in Zello, or to be used in conjunction with Zello, of course. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is when students are looking at colleges, we hear a lot of students talk about, I just want to get out of Missouri, or I want to get out of the state. And so I put this resource together for students and their parents to look at to help guide some of those conversations. As parents, we recognize that sometimes our students don't think about the reality of, hey, I want to go to school in Colorado. We've visited there, I love it, but there's a lot of extra accrued costs that maybe students don't think about just with traveling and not being able to come back home on a weekend last minute. And so I just wanted to provide that resource to help guide those conversations with you and your student. We do have college fairs. Most of those have come and gone, but we'll always add resources here and it'll get updated. The one that's still always occurring are the virtual college fairs through the National Associations for College Admissions Counselings. NACAC is what Ms. Shanks and I like to call it. And this one is there. You would be hard to find a college that is not, or university that's not here. And so it's a resource that we want to make sure that students have. And then Ms. Shanks, will you go right? Go back to that.
What I'm doing here.
Oopsie. That last one, the college and university campus visits, another resource. We want to give you and your student a resource to help guide when you are going to look at colleges and you're doing those visits, questions to ask, things to consider that might help determine if that university and that climate and that culture is appropriate for you and your needs and your desires.
This is also from Big Future, which is another, as we said, another great resource. Got a lot of windows open on my screen, so I'm sorry.
That's all right. I am super, super excited to announce and let everyone know that college representative visits are coming to LEAD finally. So one of the things that that is a barrier to us and something that we're trying to overcome always is that because we're not a high school, we've really had to do some work in the background. I see the applause. Thank you. Yeah. We've really had to work in the background to make connections to colleges and universities. And Ms. Shanks and I have been doing that for the last, several years. COVID kind of put a stop to that a little bit, but we're back up and running. We've made connections and working with home high schools to get those scheduled. And so I just wanted to let you know it's coming, and we will inundate everyone with that information. The thing though to remind your student of is that they have to sign up to attend. It's not just a, hey, last minute, you can attend. They do have to sign themselves up and attend, but more information to come.
The wonderful thing that we're going to be able to offer is those college rep visits are going to be for all grades here at LEAD. So that's great.
Yeah. Okay, the 3 high schools at Park Hill every year provide the Historically Black Colleges and Universities College Fair. This year, Park Hill South is hosting the event, and that takes place next week, November 2nd. You do not have to register or anything. You can just show up, but right now we have about 30 HBCUs that will be represented, and we have a performance that's going to be done by our Step Club from Park Hill High School, but those resources are there, and feel free to click around. And if you know of anyone that, or if you have graduated or have a contact of someone that's graduated or attended an HBCU, we would love for you to share that information with us and reach out to Ms. Shanks and I and pass their names on to us so that we can invite them to be a part of that. LEAD is actually hosting the HBCU next year, and we're always looking for partnership with parents and community. So definitely pass anything on that you'd like for us to know and consider for next year. Okay, so when applying to college, we talk to students about how to make those decisions on, Ms. Shanks, will you go back just real quick for a second? We talk about, how to decide how many and what colleges to apply to. And so we use these terms. We talk about safety, reach, and match, okay? So your safety is the one that you meet pretty much all of the admissions requirements, and their acceptance rate is pretty high. Those match, again, maybe you have 1 or 2 that you're kind of on the cusp of reaching. And again, the acceptance rate is slightly lower than those safety schools. And then that reach school is where those acceptance rates for that college and university is a little bit lower and sometimes a lot lower. But it's one that is more competitive, and we tell students that you should have a safety, a match, and a reach school. And then some students will, and it's okay to go ahead and just apply to more than that, but certainly you should have kind of your designated safety school, because you don't want to just apply at all these reach schools and then at the last minute not have a safety backup plan for a university.
And this is really helpful in talking with students, because a lot of students are really looking to go out of the state for school. But then as time gets closer to that, sometimes we pull back on that. It was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go all the way to Wyoming. And so having those match and safety schools are great, just because the ebb and flow of college planning happens.
Okay, there's also types of college applications, and this is confusing, and this is why this year I decided to map this out for students and parents, because some of these decision types are binding. And that binding one is that second one, that early decision. So this really gives students an understanding, and parents, of when colleges and universities are asking you to select your application type. This gives you information. And regular admission is more of what we would talk about. Or what we would probably as parents know. There's a deadline, there's an application period, and you just have to meet that deadline. But I want to focus more and talk more about the two that are more confusing, and that's number 2 and number 3, that early decision and that early action. So early decision is your way of letting a university know that you are very, very, very interested in attending that school, that is your reach and your passion school. And so it is binding. And what it lets you know and what it lets them know is that if you are accepted, you will go to that school. You will commit to going to that school. And so what you'll find is that it'll ask you and your student's counselor to sign a document stating that you understand what you're committing to if you select the early decision application type. So it's really important, and we stress this with our students all the time, and I know as parents you do too, but really to read when you're going through these applications, really to read the information that's in front of you and not just select something to try to hurry up and get through the process. So early action is another way to let schools know that you're interested in them, but it's not binding is the only difference. So it's letting them know, hey, I do want to go ahead and apply early during your early admissions timeline, and it lets schools know that you're on it, that you're prepared, that you're organized, and that you want to take advantage of the opportunity of getting early admittance to their schools or to their school, but it is not binding. And I'll let rolling admissions, single choice, early action. We don't see a lot of the single choice early action. Rolling admissions is more like that number 1, where schools are just always throughout the year accepting based on your merit and meeting the admissions requirements. And so those are more open application types.
And one thing to note is a lot of those early decision, early actions, those deadline dates are November. November 1st, November 15th.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yes, we have a lot of frantic students and 2 frantic counselors trying to get all of those letters of recommendations done by next
November
week.
15th.
So,
yes.
Yes, and by the 15th. So we're on those deadlines just right along with students. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to apply to colleges. So the first way is to just directly apply to the college and university, and you do that by going on their website and going through their admissions program process, and it's fairly self-explanatory. And we let students know that if they're working through that and need help, that they can come get support from Ms. Shanks and I. The other way, and actually I want to go back to that, when you directly apply, usually students that are looking at direct applications are families that, hey, I know I want to probably stick around Missouri and maybe Kansas, and I'm only going to apply to 2 or 3 schools. So what you'll find is that when you're applying to universities, it can get pretty redundant how much information you have to submit. It gets pretty tedious. And so what students will find is that the Common Application is a way to help kind of streamline that process. And so what you use, and I've put a document here that helps explain what the Common App is. Ultimately, it's a portal where your student applies for an account and they can add universities. And it's fairly common that most schools utilize the Common App because they understand it's a way to streamline information, not only for the student, but really for the university as well. And so, like I mentioned, students can go in, they can upload their personal information. Ms. Shanks, will you go? Yeah, there. Will you go back to that document that we were just looking at? It allows you to upload your academic record, your transcript, all of your extracurriculars, your college essays, things like that, so that you just have to do it that one time. And then that then disseminates the information to every university. And as soon as, let's say you've added 2 or 3 and you want to go ahead and add another 4th and 5th college, once you add it, all of that information that you've already added into Common App will be sent to those universities. It also, if you want to go ahead and go back to that presentation, it also then helps streamline when Ms. Shanks and I are submitting information on your behalf, that we then can go and do that in the Common App. And so I want to bring everyone's attention real closely to that information about our email addresses. What happens is because we are supporting 2 home high schools, we do have to utilize different emails. So Park Hill South is the one that you have to utilize a different email address when you're adding Ms. Shanks and I as a recommender. And then that way we can go in, and essentially what we're being asked to do is to sign off on the information that you've submitted. So the student has said that they have a 4.0. Mrs. Shanks, is that correct, according to the record at Park Hill? And so we sign off on that. Also, that is where counselors can submit letters of recommendations on behalf of students, and then also upload your transcript. And I also want to note, and I just added this actually recently because it's caused some confusion. We stress to students that you need to request transcripts through Zello. The only time you don't need to do that is if you're using the Common App. The counselor will upload that transcript for you.
And that would be same with the Common Black College application as well. It's very similar to the Common App.
Okay, I apologize that this slide looks very overwhelming. We're going to kind of delve into it.
Just sending this out.
Yes, we will be sending this out. I know it feels a little bit overwhelming. As we talked about, and as you'll learn when you're navigating the college admittance process, there are different action items that have to be done. And so that's what this is. It helps you navigate things like, and a fairly new thing is that some schools now are test optional. And so there's a document there that explains and provides information as to the benefits and maybe disadvantages to applying test optional. Really, I'll go ahead and just say that one of the advantages of applying and using test scores would be to help support with like scholarship applications based on merit. But that document talks about that a little bit more. And then that's what those bullet points there are just talking about, different things to consider when you're considering whether or not to use that your test scores or not use their test scores. The next 5 and 6 just talk about support when you are applying to college. It can get pretty expensive. Many times when you're applying to colleges, they require you to pay anywhere from $30 to $50 for them to process your application. And that can get pretty expensive. And so we provide a resource there that if you need help and assistance with that you can contact your counselor. Just some redundant information. We always try to provide reminders about how to access Zello and your transcript. So that's there. And just reminders for students when you are taking those dual credit classes and those AP classes, that you then are required to manage that information when you're applying to college. The district doesn't house your dual credit information and send it on your behalf. That is the student and parents' responsibility. And then that last resource, number 10, we provided, this is a new resource based on parent feedback last year that we appreciated, that parents are and students are wanting more information about things to consider when you are writing your college essay and your personal statement. And so that document, Ms. Shanks, do you want to click on that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
That document just provides some guidelines and things to think about. And so I get this actually from that Big Future website, and this is information they push out and it's updated every year. And so I will update it accordingly every year.
So there were a few questions just in chat about transcripts. And
Okay.
so those where you're directly applying to college through the college website, students have these directions on how to request transcripts through Zello. So it tells you exactly what to do to request transcripts through Zello. Okay, I know that's a lot of information. Please know that Ms. Colvin and I are here for you. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. Students can make appointments to come down and meet with us as well. We're currently meeting with our juniors right now for their 4-year plan meetings. We've already gotten through our seniors, but are here for them. I just helped yesterday someone apply for JCC. So if there's any questions, reach out to Ms. Colvin and I. Our next counselor talk will be on November 15th, and that is the one about financial aid. I think that would be a great one to join because there is some new information. So that's the list of the rest of the counselor talks that we are having this year. So any questions? Well, we thank you all so much for joining us today. Once again, you can reach out to us at any time, and we look forward to seeing you at our next counselor talk.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.